Welcome to Hokey Religion, the Star Wars podcast. This is Tyler.
This is Michael.
And we both read Bloodline.
Hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blast here, True.
All right, welcome back to the show.
I read a book.
Michael, unlike Aftermath, Michael actually read all of Bloodline and finished it before I did.
Which is great.
Yes, it is. It's helpful for, the thing we do.
Yeah.
When we record these things.
Now I know what to talk about.
There you go. Instead of me just talking about Aftermath and you saying, yeah,
that. I'm sure that happened.
Yes, we both actually finished Bloodline completely, and it was fantastic.
I mean, at this point, I already know what happens in Aftermath, so do I really
just
have to read it?
Just because I've talked about it?
Yeah. We've talked about it so many times.
No, you have to finish it.
Why? I already know what happens.
Homework.
What?
Just
because? Just to say that I read it?
You can't read the next one if you haven't finished the first one.
You really think there are that many things in there that I'll have to know before I read the second one? Before I not read the second one? That's how it's going to work, right?
Just do it. Do it.
Fine.
Okay. Before we get to talking about Bloodline, because we have plenty of things to say about it, for those that want to read Bloodline before listening to us spoil all of the things from the book, read faster, for one thing, but also we're going to talk about some other stuff first. We'll get to Bloodline later, and then if you want to skip that part, then do whatever you
Seriously,
want.
we're going to talk about the entire book, so if you care at all about the book, just stop.
Not now, but later when we talk about Bloodline.
Well, stop.
I'll tell you.
We can stop now.
We'll say,
right? Stop. Now. Right now. Okay, done.
All right, good show.
What are we talking about before? Episode 8.
Star Wars.
That one.
We talk about Star Wars.
That one.
Yeah.
I came over here today really wanting to watch the old Star Trek, the original series.
Why?
I've been rewatching it all.
I have never finished it.
I just want to come over here and just watch Star Trek.
That's not good.
Can we do that?
Sure, on our Star Wars show, we're just going to watch Star Trek.
Why not? I watched this really good episode the other day.
We have to talk about Bloodline.
Do you remember the episode with Baylock? I know one listener, one of our friends that listen to the show is going crazy right now. Oh, he's the best! Is that what he sounds like?
Yeah.
Oh, he's the best! Oh, finally.
What was that? It was like Watto.
That's what you did.
Sebulba.
At the same time?
Yeah. if they had a love child. No. So before we get to Bloodline,
I want to talk about Star Trek.
I don't care. Shut up. So for
You're
episode,
the worst.
Thanks. That's why we do this together.
What a drink.
We really hate each other.
What's that little heater for over there?
Heating.
It's hot enough in here.
For heating.
Why do you need a little heater in here?
For when it needs heat.
Let's talk about Star Wars.
Okay, thank you. Finally. Unbreak your brain for a moment. Let's return to the thing that we do where you always break anyways. So, a few things have been happening with episode 8. There's been a ton of pictures online. I don't know if you've been following those as well, but of another set with Millennium Falcon on it. And I think it's called Malinhead over in Scotland. It's
similar scenery to the Skellig Island, right?
Yeah, to Ahch-To.
Right.
Which someone said the other day, which I didn't catch this before, was like, Ahch-To, it's Ahch-To. Yeah, why would they name it that?
Ahch-To?
It's the second movie, and that's where this stuff's going to be at.
Weird.
I don't know. It did seem kind of dumb. Then when someone said that, I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of a dumb name.
Star Wars.
Yeah, whatever.
Darth Plagueis. I mean, come on.
Wow.
What was that other one? Do you remember it was the book that came out soon after they started going into Darth Plagueis? There was some not Darth Bane.
Darth Bane?
No, it wasn't
Not
Bane.
Bane?
It was, oh no, I can't remember.
The curse of the podcast where we try to think of a thing and then don't remember that it ever happened.
I'll look it up while you're talking. Keep talking.
Cool, thanks. So that set looks pretty cool. I'm assuming, that's another spot from the Ahch-To island that Luke and Rey are on. But where that location is, recently both Daisy Ridley and the other guy,
Mark Hamill.
I'm blanking on Kylo Ren's name.
What? Adam Driver?
Thank you, Adam Driver.
Jeez, we are
yeah, all
not
three
doing-
of them showed up, like flew in and arrived at that location.
Adam
So-
Driver?
Yes, they were all three there.
What? Flashback?
Well, if you follow anything regarding Star Wars online, there was like all these pictures of Mark Hamill like giving the peace sign, like being crazy.
Yeah.
He was basically distracting from both Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver, who had like sunglasses on and hoods up and were like walking to the car.
Interesting.
But they were all together.
Flashback?
So I've heard a rumor
Right?
before, and I don't
Maybe.
remember where this was that I heard this rumor before. It's been a while back. But apparently, from the rumor that I remember from a while back, Kylo Ren shows up there while Rey and Luke are doing their thing,
Yeah.
and like joins them in a hut, and they have a conversation.
What? By himself?
This was a rumor I heard a while back. Yes. And from this rumor, and again, I'm not crediting whoever this rumor was from, but I honestly can't remember. It's been months ago. And then I think Luke gets so angry that he like force blasts the hut away from around them.
What?
Like he just like explodes in anger, force in the force.
That seems a little dumb.
Maybe a little bit, but it depends on what the conversation's about. I'm sure it could be pulled off fairly well.
Yeah.
But the fact that all three of them, Kylo, all three of them flew into that area, and of course, no one's really allowed in that area's location, stuff like that. But
That's interesting.
from that rumor I heard a long time back, there's a rumor that Kylo Ren kind of shows up there to have a conversation with Luke and Rey.
Yeah, now that I think about it, it couldn't be a flashback because then Kylo would know where he is.
Yeah.
Like, people would know where he is all this time.
Yeah, so I don't, the fact that all three of them were together and in that location, either Kylo Ren finds out where they are, and that whole them having a conversation thing was crap. But that lends a little more likelihood to that being a real.
If he was actually filming
real
there,
rumor.
yeah. And that's interesting.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
Cool.
So whatever that means, as they start to film, which hasn't happened yet, I don't think. I know they just got there like this past weekend from when we're recording, but maybe there'll be some more leaks. Who knows? As far as episode 8 goes, Boyega was talking recently as well. People saying, trying to figure out the love interest of
Oh, I
Finn.
saw that today.
Everyone, people have been more pro Poe and Finn than they have been Finn and Rey. But he said, yeah, Finn and Rey, they're just friends. Finn is a stormtrooper, so he doesn't really know what's going on. So the romance thing is something that's going to be interesting in the next installment. It's not going to go the way you think it is going to go.
Yeah, no idea what that means.
So I wonder if that is the whole Poe and Finn thing that everyone wants, or as far as we know, rumor-wise, Finn and Kelly Marie Tran are supposedly acting together a lot.
Huh.
In episode 8.
Okay.
So I don't, whatever character she is, which I may have some ideas about who I want her to be later, but maybe she's a love interest. I don't know. I do think it would be interesting if they did go the gay way with Finn, whether it be Poe, whoever wanted.
Going the gay way.
Yeah, that's my bumper sticker. Whoever, because that's been a big fan thing of Finn and Poe being, the bromance. I don't know if that has any legitimacy to it. I'm going to be surprised if Finn can even walk, which we've talked about before. After what happened with Kylo Ren, I still don't understand how he is fully healed.
After what?
Kylo Ren.
He can't walk after what?
Kylo Ren.
Okay.
I said Kylo Ren.
Okay.
What did you think I said?
I don't know where you were going with that. I was half listening, and
Thanks.
we were talking about the gay way, and then you said he couldn't walk after a while. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. It must have been Darth Plagueis.
Other stuff.
To go back, it must have been Darth Plagueis. That's who I was thinking of that had the really dumb...
Being a stupid name.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of a dumb name.
Thanks for interrupting.
Anyway, back to...
No, I mean, I mentioned it before, but
Stuff.
Finn his spine was just like sliced right out. Him walking is going to be a
That was pretty intense.
miracle. But I guess based off of some stuff in Bloodline, as far as healing goes, I guess that's possible.
Slap some Bacta in there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, in Bloodline, there was someone that got a shot for like regrowing bones. So I guess that's a thing that can happen.
It's like some Harry Potter shit.
Yeah. It's like in Rick and Morty when he like just totally destroys his legs. Morty falls off that cliff and Rick just like injects him in his legs, like go
Oh,
back
right.
to normal.
That's right.
Well, but favorite part of that scene is the fact that it just stays on Morty, like groaning in agony for like 2 straight minutes while Rick is gone, wherever he went, and then you find out he comes back and injects him. But he's just like laying there screaming for like just 2 straight minutes.
Because all his bones are broken.
Yeah. But it's not even showing what else is happening. It's just showing him writhing in agony. That show is so good.
That was good.
I started rewatching it recently, and it's
such a good show.
It's really one of the best TV shows.
Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about Welcome to Rick and Morty cast. No.
What would we call that show?
This is not the time or place for that. I don't know. My brain is not there. What else we got for episode 8?
Tom Hardy.
Rumors of Tom Hardy being a stormtrooper in it, which isn't, I guess, that interesting. There's a rumor that he recognizes Finn on the street.
I read that. He recognizes Finn, and there's this moment where they think that, or where Finn thinks that, oh crap, this is that guy that knows me. He was part of my squad.
Yeah.
He's going to give me up. Because I guess, I don't know, it was unclear what Finn was doing.
Well, I mean,
in this rumor.
Well, yeah, apparently he was just like on the street wherever they are.
I thought it said something about he was undercover, like as a stormtrooper.
So the stormtrooper thought he was undercover. Like
for the First Order?
Yeah. So apparently this
I thought it was the other way around.
So apparently the stormtrooper like thinks, sees Finn and like walks up to him and like slaps him on the ass and is like, good job getting the undercover, the resistance undercover job or whatever. And then like goes away, and that was like the end of the scene.
I thought it was the other way around. I thought Finn was undercover as a stormtrooper.
Yeah.
And this guy sees him, recognizes him somehow, which didn't really make sense.
Yeah.
And then is like, yeah, good job getting in with the resistance. Like he was sympathetic to the resistance.
No, he was
something.
like, good job at like being undercover.
Oh, okay. I misread it.
Which, I mean, there was a stormtrooper that was like, traitor, and like, tried to kill hm. So
right.
I don't know how much, all the stormtroopers know what happened with him.
Right.
Some people that interviewed Boyega were asking him about it, and he just kind of laughed it off and didn't really answer one way or the other if it was true. But it's not really that much of a news story, other than I think that scene sounds kind of lame. The whole like,
I think it would be kind of funny.
I guess so, but it seems even more ridiculous than the whole Daniel Craig stormtrooper scene with him dropping the gun and Rey's first force use.
Maybe that's a thing now, is just to have those little weird.
Just whoever's filming near Pinewood to have them come be a stormtrooper. That's just the thing.
Kevin Smith is going to be next.
The giant stormtrooper. No, he lost some weight. He's not as big as he was.
A stormtrooper with jorts.
Got a hockey shirt on, like a giant, huge hockey shirt shaped armor. It's just one big piece,
just hanging off of him.
Yeah. No.
Oh boy.
Yeah. What else we got for episode 8? We got John Williams.
Yep.
I don't like to hear this, and I don't even want to think about it. But apparently he had a concert recently, and in talking or doing some interview with it, I guess people were asking him about, scoring episode 8 or scoring further on for Star Wars. And he was kind of like, laughing it off like, I don't really want to do that anymore. There was a couple conflicting things as far as what exactly he said, because multiple people were at this concert and heard what he said. The first thing that came out was that he said, I told the producers I wasn't sure if I wanted to do the next one, but told them I didn't want anyone else to do it. But then someone else saying they were at the concert said he said, I told the producers I wasn't sure if I wanted to do the next one, but I love Daisy Ridley so much that I don't want anyone else to score for her. Either way, he doesn't.
It's very different things.
It's very different as to why he doesn't want to do it. But
yeah, that's what I mean.
He has said he doesn't want to really do it.
In both quotes.
Yes, in both quotes, he said he doesn't want to.
So there is one thing clear.
Yeah. Yeah, there's one note is him saying that he doesn't really want to do it.
Dang.
But at the same time, he's not really sure if he wants anyone else to do it, whether it be for a specific character or for the film in general.
I can imagine. I mean, after a certain amount of time, he's probably running out of ideas.
He's really old at this point, and that's a pretty grueling process to write a full score for a film and then conduct a full score for a film. That's like years of your life working on a score.
I don't know about years, but it would. Yeah, it's a lot.
I mean, obviously, he's pulling bits and pieces from from his past work to make it still the Star Wars universe, but he's writing full new, a full album, a full score of a film.
Yeah,
of music, which, you know, writing that for a symphony orchestra is probably not easy.
Right.
Working through all that. And he's not going to be alive all that much longer if he makes it to the end of the new trilogy, would probably be good, you know, be good, but
It would be good.
it would be good. Yes. But I'm saying, like,
yeah, it's
I don't want anyone else to do it because I can't imagine anyone else doing it. But I guess Rogue One will be our first taste of someone else doing Star Wars music.
well, we've had tastes of that for a long time now with Clone Wars and with Rebels and
those are TV shows though.
but it's Star Wars music.
But it's
and,
not.
Games.
It's
and,
a TV show though, so it's not like completely scored. It's scored, but it's not like the film scored.
Well, I guess I'm talking more about opening and closing credits.
Well, yeah, but
Opening
but
theme
Rogue
and
One
the-
is going to be a
the
full
credits.
film score of someone else.
A film score, yeah, sure.
Of someone else doing it.
Right.
So maybe Rogue One will, you know, instill some hope that someone else could do it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you know who the composer is on that movie?
On Rogue One, I cannot remember.
I'll look it up.
I can't remember. I was reading something the other day about who was doing it, but I can't recall. But yeah, John Williams is Star Wars music, so anyone else taking that over, it's not going to sound the same.
Right.
I mean, obviously, since it has been John Williams from the very start, they're going to have to probably stick to some of those guns of this is the sound of Star Wars. You know, you have to have the string section, you know, be you know, up front. You have to have those like flutes, you know, the wind stuff in it.
Right.
It's very, you know, John Williams and very Star Warsy. I can't imagine you trying to just jump away from that at your first chance if someone else is scoring it. But at the same time, it'll be sad to see anyone else doing it.
Rogue One is scored by Alexander Desplat. He did The King's Speech. He did Benjamin Button. He did Argo. He did
Those were all good.
one of the Harry Potter movies.
Yeah.
He did Tale of Tales, which actually looks really good. He did Godzilla, which
didn't do
was
well.
directed. No
By
way.
Gareth
Yeah,
Edwards.
that was the one directed by Gareth Edwards, the
Yeah.
new one. Yeah,
Who will be doing episode 9.
interesting. He did Grand Budapest Hotel.
Okay.
He did a lot of good stuff.
That's cool.
Zero Dark 30.
So I mean, that'll be the first
Moonrise
Star Wars
Kingdom. The music in that was excellent.
Yeah. So that'll be
Yeah,
the first Star
that's
Wars
interesting.
film with a score from someone else. So I feel that it still has to feel like Star Wars in the score, but it's going to be someone else doing it. So I mean, that'll probably be our first real taste of what someone not John Williams staying within the realm of Star Wars music makes it sound like, and how far, you know, he departs from that Star Wars sound. Because if
Right.
you depart too far, it's not going to sound or feel like Star Wars.
Did an episode of Wild Kratts.
What?
Wild Kratts. Have you ever watched that show?
No, I've never heard of Wild Kratts.
I have 2 children.
Okay.
It's a show about 2 brothers that change themselves into biomechanical animals when they like touch something on their
It's like
bodies.
Borgs? What is happening?
Basically, they turn into like animal. They're like animorphs in a way,
Animorphs.
but like
Okay.
like robot animorphs.
That's
Animorphs weren't robots, right? They transformed into real animals, didn't they?
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
they were people and then animals. Yeah.
Well, they were like these guys like transform into animals, and
it's like people that turn into Transformers.
Yeah, I guess. Well, he did an episode of that.
Oh, good for him. That's a big accomplishment. Thanks, Desplat.
Ugh. Anyways,
Yeah. And
Last
then
one.
I think moving on from episode 8, but just in
well,
Star
there's
Wars.
one more. You had one more note here about Han cameo.
Yeah, that's what I was
and-
going to.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm moving on from episode 8 to like Rogue
Oh, I
One
see.
stuff. So there was some Rogue One leaks this week, which we're going to talk about. But apparently, from something I was reading, you know, they finally officially announced that the actor for Han Solo was going to be that Eric
Stoltz.
Nope, it's Eric Ironheart. That's what I'm going to say his last name is, right?
Eric Iron Man.
All right, yes, it's Eric Iron Man is going to be playing Han Solo in the Han Solo Star Wars story movie. But apparently the casting for that is so early from the film due to the fact that there's possibly going to be a young Han Solo cameo in Rogue One.
Interesting.
Which, I mean, I guess if they're being all undercover, rogues, that maybe they'll run into Han Solo somewhere in a passing by sort of.
Maybe like in a super quick.
I can't imagine him being like super involved in the movie. If Han was like actually involved in the capturing of the Death Star plans with no one knowing about it and him never mentioning it up to this point, then
that would kind of screw a lot of stuff up.
Canon out the window. But apparently they were casting him so early to, I guess, pop him in Rogue One somehow. I don't know how that's gonna work, but talking about Rogue One,
it's like Spider-Man.
What did Spider-Man do?
It's like
what are you talking about?
It's like Spider-Man.
No.
Didn't they cast him early so they could put him in Civil War?
Oh, you're not insane. Okay. So, casting him early for the new Spider-Man movies to put him in Civil War.
It's like Spider-Man. Spider-Man.
Yeah. It's just like...
It's like Spider-Man.
It's just like Spartan Man. Yes. Yes, casting him to put him in Civil War, which I still need to see.
Spider-Man in Rogue One.
You saw that, right?
Spider-Man?
No, Civil War.
What?
You were going to see Civil War. Did you not see Civil War?
No.
Okay.
I've never said that I was going to see it.
I'm pretty sure you told me you were going to see it.
Well, I want to see it. I said I wanted to see it.
Nope.
I never said that I was going to. I said I was going to go see Batman versus Superman.
No.
Well, I did say that, though.
We'll discuss this later.
But I did say that.
Yes, you did.
It was between that and some other movie that I forget. The one that I actually saw.
Okay.
What, do you remember?
Cloverfield?
You weren't even there.
Was it Cloverfield?
Oh, yeah, 10 Cloverfield Lane.
That movie was really good.
That was really good.
I'm assuming better than Batman vs. Superman based off of all of the things people have said.
But I still wanted to see Batman vs. Superman.
No one should ever see it. I haven't seen it, and I don't want to.
You have seen it?
I have not. I just have no desire after hearing about it.
I want to see it just because it sets up the universe, but...
No.
I know it's terrible. I know it's going to be terrible, but...
That's like saying you want to watch Suicide Squad because it sets up the universe.
But I do want to watch Suicide Squad. It looks terrible, but I want to see it.
All right, we're done here. You leave. No, yeah, I will. I may not pay to see them in theaters. I may watch them after the fact when they happen to be on somewhere else.
Home video.
Sure, yes.
It's still home video, right?
When I get that VHS and pop it in to the player.
Download that VHS on the internet.
You wouldn't download a VCR, would you?
I downloaded it.
Downloaded it. Anyways, Rogue One. So a foreign website. I think it's German, right? That's German.
Hold still. Yep.
Up here. Yeah, German.
.de.
Yeah. So a German website released some information.
Is this the translated version?
Yes, it's using Chrome to translate it, so the English isn't great.
Caution, slight to moderate spoilers possible.
Yep. So apparently a German website got some information on Star Wars.
Could you bring up the original text again, please?
No.
I just want to read that real quick.
No, please. Please don't do it.
Fine.
There, original text.
Oh, I don't know where it was. I don't know what is what.
Borsig like to be meet there. Spoiler Moglik. That.
Spoiler Moglik.
Yep. So a German website apparently got a 10-page preview to the Rogue One Star Wars story visual guide story. I'm guessing the visual dictionary.
Whatever that means.
Yeah. I'm assuming the visual dictionary for Rogue One, which
the official story guide story.
Yep.
Storybook
which
story.
has character names, which we didn't have before, as well as lots of pictures of various ships and things that we have not seen before as well. So character names.
Wait a second, that was wrong. Those X-Wings.
Your face is wrong.
Those X-Wings are the new X-Wings.
They are not final, it says. There's a picture of X-Wings that is definitely the X-Wings from...
It's the T-70s, not the T...
Yeah, it's the new ones with the where the S-foils have the half barrel on them instead of the full one.
Right.
But the picture does say not final, so maybe they're not sure yet.
T-65 was the original one? I thought it was...
So the most... I mean, obviously, there's lots of pictures of ships and various vehicles, which are really cool, but there are also character names, which we did not have before for most of the characters.
Right.
Provided this is an actual real...
Full character names.
Yes. Provided this is the actual excerpt from the visual guide for Rogue One. So we have Jyn Erso, which of course is Felicity Jones, who's the person we've seen in the trailer. Diego Luna is playing Captain Cassian Andor, which I think we had the name Cassian before, maybe not the last name.
Maybe. I think so.
Of course, he's an officer in the Rebel Alliance. We Jiang Wen plays Baze, a freelance assassin. Of course, Alan Tudyk is playing the CGI droid, which is K-250, which again was supposedly an Imperial droid of some sort that somehow the Rebels
an enforcer
now have.
droid.
Yeah. Riz Ahmed plays Bodhi, which is a rebel soldier, whoever. Pow, who is an alien, who is described as a fierce warrior. You've got Biston, also described as an alien fierce warrior. And then Donnie Yen is playing Chirrut, a spiritual warrior.
Interesting.
What is the spiritual warrior?
Yeah, that's
if not
interesting.
a Jedi?
Right.
That's
Some kind of force sensitive?
But
But I think, wasn't it mentioned at some point that this is a story that's not going to have any connection to the Force or any of the main characters?
He's some kind of, I don't know. I mean, he kind of, maybe he's like a monk or something, like some sort of, I don't know.
Space monk.
Space monks. Monks in space. It's the most boring show ever. It just cuts to them just like transcribing books.
Takes some of the most quiet Zen people ever and put them in the most quiet Zen place ever. See what you get.
Pure silence. The most interesting thing that came from this is
Ben Mendelsohn
on the Imperial page, which I guess is just
Mendelsohn.
Thank you, SNL man. So Ben Mendelsohn apparently is playing Director Krennic, the military director of the Empire.
That was really interesting to read that.
What?
Yeah.
So
Not Tarkin, not Vader.
Yeah, you and I slightly talked about this before, but okay, so based off of the Tarkin book, Tarkin is like heading up the build of the Death Star.
Right.
So I'm guessing since he's heading that up, he probably doesn't have the time to...
what was Tarkin's first name? Do you remember now?
Wilhuff?
Yes.
There you go.
I was going to say Muffhelm.
That's a different thing. Nope. Nope. Not a thing.
We should keep going.
We should. So
we have a lot to talk about.
we do. So so the military director of the Empire. So what's Vader doing if he's not the military director?
I was saying earlier that Vader, I could understand Vader being more of like a fear enforcer than a military director. But
I guess.
But Tarkin not being that?
I mean, again, based off the Tarkin book, he was still, I mean, he was made a Grand Moff and all of that, but he was still in charge of the Death Star build, right?
He commanded the Death Star and he became the regional governor of the Outer Rim.
So I know he commanded the Death Star, but I guess the Death Star is gigantic, so I guess that is not enough time to be the military director. I don't know. I always pictured Tarkin in that role and not anybody else. Yeah, he seemed way more of the... I mean, I know Tarkin's not like the admiral of the fleet or anything, which this guy definitely seems more of, military director, seems more of like the admiral of the fleet type person, especially with the white...
Well, I would say he's above all the admirals. He's above Tarkin.
Well, he seems kind of like the whole, like... the white outfit, he seems like, what's his face from the books that I always wanted to
Thrawn.
be. Yes. He seems like Thrawn with the whole white admiral outfit, like he's, in charge of the fleet type person.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he doesn't make it through this movie.
Yeah, I don't see how he could unless he's on the Death Star when it blows up.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah, so I mean that's definitely interesting that he is, a military director of the Empire. Oh, and speaking of Rogue One, and this again is, I think it's been since we last recorded, and I don't think I mentioned it the last time, but apparently, or the rumor is that tank in the trailer for Rogue One, supposedly Darth Vader is in it.
In the tank?
Supposedly.
That doesn't seem like
the
a
rumor
Vader thing
is
to do.
that Darth Vader is in the tank, hence the Royal Guards.
No! I'm thinking the actual tank that was on Tatooine.
No, the tank
in the trailer.
that like backed-looking tank in the trailer with the Imperial Guards.
I was going to say that's not a very
supposedly
Vader.
Vader is in it.
Okay, yeah.
As
Yeah,
to
I
who
remember
is-
seeing the same thing.
Yeah, as to who is kneeling in front of it, who knows? There's no theory about that yet.
Yeah, who knows?
But apparently Vader, either getting repaired from battle or,
Something.
whatever nubbins he has left are getting fixed up by the Bacta tank. I don't know. When you're mostly robot, I don't know what Bacta does for you other than seals off the nubbins. Because the dude's got what? One arm
One real arm, yeah, and one robot arm.
and then no legs.
Yeah, they're both robots.
Like
And a robot heart.
really messed up egghead
hmm
and a robot heart.
Something
Yep.
like that. Bunch
Sure.
of junk.
So
on
apparently
there.
he's in the tank, which
Bunch of wires.
yes, which I mean, if he's as badass in the film as we're led to believe, I'm assuming he needs to be healed at some point, unless he takes like a lot of damage for some reason, and he needs to get healed. I don't know why someone would be showing up to kneel to him, though. That part I'm still trying to figure out why. any
Vader
of that.
really is the only one who makes sense to be in there.
Yes,
with the
I don't
royal
know who
guards
would,
and
show up
everything.
to kneel at him though, like while he's getting healed, unless it's just I don't know. It doesn't.
Some underling. I don't know.
It seems to undermine Vader's power though, to show him
To be in a Bacta
being
tank?
in a Bacta tank
Well, he was in that
outside of it, I don't know.
meditation chamber thing in Empire with his helmet off.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, but that's not like being healed. He doesn't seem one for
I guess not.
healing up.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah.
I
So
guess.
that's really everything other than the stuff we have to talk about with Bloodline. So if you don't want to hear about Bloodline and you want to read the book, you should have already read it by now. But if you're really slow at reading and are just being lazy, then you should probably go ahead and stop now, because we're going to move on and destroy all of the spoils for Bloodline for you.
Everything.
Most of the things that are important. So my thing reading through Bloodline was obviously the story. It was a really good book.
Yes.
I liked Aftermath. Aftermath is very, there was a lot of complaints to Aftermath in the way it was written.
right.
I enjoyed Aftermath, but this one really felt like a callback to the old Star Wars books to me.
Yeah, for me too. It felt like the old. It felt like a return to the old canon stuff, the old legend stuff, the new stuff.
And it was really well written, which now I really want to go back. I know I started Lost Stars, which Claudia Gray wrote, but I really want to read that now, knowing how good her writing is.
Yeah. That's the Princess Leia story, right? All Stars.
That's the one with the two friends who one goes towards the Republic and one goes to the Empire. And the cover is the Star Destroyer that is crashing into Jakku. It's one of the young adult novels.
What am I thinking of? Wasn't there another Princess
Moving
Leia
Target?
book? Yes, that's what it was.
That
That's
was
not
the
by,
Princess Leia one. No.
that's not by Claudia Gray. Yeah.
No. So it was a fantastic book. So it took place 6 years before Episode 7, which, I mean, you and I were talking about this before.
Yeah, we were talking about this.
That's a short time for what's happening in this book to then what's happening in
Yeah, especially
The Force Awakens.
I mean, when I first saw that before, obviously not reading the rest of the book, I thought that was kind of a compressed timeline. But now, even knowing the end of the book and how everything that it sets up, and then where we are in 7, like it seems like a really compressed
yes,
timeline.
but also I think it was Pablo Hidalgo on Twitter who was saying that the original trilogy films was only a span of 4 years. So if you think about
That
everything
sort
that went
of
down,
makes sense, though.
So if you think about everything that went down from
I guess they built
a Star Destroyer,
half of a Death Star.
a Death Star being
time.
destroyed, to a new Death Star being built, to being destroyed, to all of these characters growing up and everything changing so rapidly.
I guess, yeah.
I mean, when shit hits the fan, it probably happens pretty fast.
I guess too. I mean, the amount of things. Do you want to do this chronologically, or can I
Sure.
skip ahead a little?
Whatever, I don't care.
Well, I was going to say, so the if you've read the book, you know what I'm talking about. But the Amaxine army,
Yeah.
that they talk about later in the book, they and we can explain more about this later. But
Yeah.
they have obviously been funded for a long time now, and have had a lot of time to kind of build up this force. And it seemed like the force that was destroyed was only like one of the bets that
one of
that
It-
were
I mean,
that were placed. You
in
know,
the book, the character Carice Sindian, she basically called them the shock troops. They were going to come out and cause a big mess for the First Order to then come in and like restore order.
Well, I thought these people were though related to the First Order force.
Yes.
It was
But
like
they
the
were gonna
remnants
use
of
them
the
as
Empire
as
plus.
yes, they were going to use them as like the shock force, the like initial like coming in and messing things up, and the First Order like coming in and being the control of both them and then everything else.
Maybe, yeah.
Like messing things up enough that when the First Order shows up, there's not really enough to stop them.
My point was it seemed like all their chips weren't set on this one group that was destroyed. They had many, many other worlds.
Well, they talked about so
on
many,
board.
however many bases they had,
Yeah.
and places that they were training and facilities.
So
Obviously,
I guess
that one day that they destroyed on that underwater city was one of the biggest facilities, I think. And they said a huge army was there as far as their fleet and the weapons. Like it was like a big cache for the Amaxine troops.
it was a large cache, but apparently they had a lot of other large caches.
Supposedly, yes. So we don't know.
So I guess all that momentum that had been built up, I could understand, I guess, where they ended up
Yeah. So
in 7.
yeah. So just going, kind of timeline wise, this is 6 years before Episode 7. Just a few like general notes. Apparently, just because we've talked about it before, it's like the Hosnian system
Yeah.
is where the Senate was. Well, the Senate is actually on Hosnian Prime.
Right.
So really, this book is just it's very much a political thriller. As far as there are two political parties, the populists and the centrists. The populists want to kind of give each individual planet and system like control. You have your own armies, you defend yourself. You know, and the Senate will try to help help fight for everyone in general.
Right.
Whereas the centrists kind of want to just get back to having one big leader like the Emperor. Obviously, hopefully not as evil as the Emperor.
A leader with power that can force other planets in the Republic to
if people
follow
are doing bad
certain
stuff
laws.
to make them stop, if people,
Right.
all that kind of stuff.
More of a central government, yeah.
Apparently, as the book goes on, you find out most of the centrists really just want the Empire to be back.
Yeah.
Or a good portion of them just want the Empire to be back. And
Well, because that's kind of where that was founded, was the idea that the Empire did things the right way.
Yeah.
And some people romanticize Palpatine, some people don't, but they
Yes.
all kind of agree that the Empire handled the government correctly.
yeah, some of them were okay with Palpatine's abuse of power, and that's the kind of strong hand the universe the galaxy needs. Whereas
Yeah.
some were like, well, the Empire had everything right except for Palpatine's corruption of
Right.
how he abused his power.
And Vader's just fear, Vader's fist.
Yeah, exactly. And then, some of the things we talked about before this book, and even with Episode 7, as far as what happened to Mon Mothma, apparently she is very sick, very ill. She's not part of the Senate. She's not involved at all.
Which I thought was interesting because that was an old EU storyline.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember that one.
She, I remember I think it was the Jedi Academy trilogy, they mentioned it. But I think in that trilogy, it was a lot later on. Well, yeah, maybe
Okay.
it would have been around the same time now. But anyway, they went into basically the same thing where, like, except Mon Mothma came to Leia in that trilogy. Or maybe it was another book. It was one of those books around that time. It might have been something with Jason and Jaina in it.
Okay.
But Mon Mothma came to Leia and admitted to her, "I've got some kind of incurable cancer, and I'm not
cancer.
Yeah, and I'm not going to make it, and I need you to take a bigger role." Basically, that was kind of what it boiled down to. I just thought it was cool that they sort of kept the same thing, except that from what we can tell, like, Leia has no contact with Mon Mothma anymore.
Well, yeah, there's
It
no
seemed like-
contact with Mothma in the book at all, which was kind of sad because, I mean, you would think they would be very close, having been the two like main leaders of the rebellion.
Yeah,
And Mothma was part of the Senate, and she was like the main person in the Senate
yeah,
and in the New Republic that really only held things together since episode 6.
yeah.
But since she's become ill is when the Senate's kind of fallen apart. There's all this infighting between the two parties. There's, no one's really making any decisions because all they do is fight with each other.
Right.
No good is being done, and all the, bad is just being allowed to happen because no one can make a decision to do one thing or the other.
Everybody kind of respected Mothma, which is how things got done before she got sick.
Yes.
But now that she's sick and out of the picture, it's all just falling to pieces.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting. It's mentioned, there's a quote in the book that said she's gone possibly forever. So either...
She's very sick.
Yeah, so this is either some kind of terminal illness or possibly she's dead already, but I didn't gather that.
There was never any concrete as to whether she was dead or not. It always seemed to allude that she
possibly
was very close.
forever. That would mean she's almost dead.
Yeah, everything
Not
that was
quite.
said was really like, she's very close to being dead. At this
She's
point.
not coming back is the main point.
Yeah, she's not going to
Right.
get better.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting.
So I guess just to give like a quick run for those that maybe don't want to read it and just want to know what happened for the, just the quick synopsis of it is, so there's the two parties, they hate each other. Leia is, part of the populace. She agrees that each planet should have their own control of their planets and their systems.
Right.
There's another senator on the centrist side who is Ransom Casterfo, who agrees that the Empire was a good idea other than Vader and Palpatine.
And they give some more of his backstory where he actually is completely against.
Yes.
Like he experienced
him and his parents were in a work camp basically under Vader's fist.
Right. So he knows.
So he definitely hates Vader.
He knows that things don't need to go back to the way Palpatine and Vader handled things, but he still likes the idea of a central type of government.
Yeah. Some senator, some representative from Ryloth shows up at the Senate and was like, "Hey, there's this bad cartel that we need you guys to look into."
Right.
And whatever. So Leia and Casterfo go to look into it because no one trusts just one person from one party to go look into it. They have to send two people.
Right.
And at this point, Leia and Casterfo hate each other because they're from different parties. They eventually become really good friends. But so they look into it, find this Rin Riven D guy who is he's like the head of the spice cartel.
Yeah.
Who has just a ton of money, and he came out of nowhere with all this money too. In 7 years, he's built up to like bigger than the Hutts.
Yeah.
Which is
crazy.
way too fast to have that kind of money.
Right.
They find him. Then they keep looking into it, basically.
Yeah, a bunch of stuff happens.
They keep looking into it and find that he's tied to these people called the Amaxines, the Maxine warriors.
Yeah.
Who apparently used to be this warrior tribe who would just like start wars with anyone and just fight anybody and pretty much always win. And then when the whole Empire and rebellion thing happened, they just kind of left the galaxy and was like, well, we're not going to deal with all of this. We're just going to go out into the stars, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, apparently they've been built back up, if they are even the same people or just using the name, which I think they're just using the name.
I think they're just using the name. Yeah, that's why.
They were being built back up. This it looks to be an army that is being built up where money is being funneled from them through the same people that are funneling money to Rin Riven D, which turns out that... So they slowly uncover all of this, and turns out that apparently these people, the Maxine warriors, are tied to this new order that is appearing called the First Order. That's a senator a centrist senator in the New Republic is very heavily involved with the Maxine warriors.
And a lot of centrist worlds are connected to this movement. And
all this money came from the fact that all these senators are basically pulling money together and like putting in offshore accounts, basically putting in off-planet accounts that are funding this First Order, the Maxine warriors, and Rin Riven D, who is his whole huge spice cartel is basically continuing to make them money to support the cause of the First Order. So it turns out that this is kind of the start of the First Order, and they've been building up for a while.
Yeah.
The Amaxian warriors are referred to as kind of like shock troops, like we mentioned before. But anyways, stuff is happening with that. They're kind of uncovering that. This horrible senator that I just mentioned, her name is Carice Sendian. She's involved with the Amaxian warriors and the First Order. So Leia was like, basically, there was a title on this lady's planet, Carice Sendian's planet. Leia was given a title, like
she inherited
title. She inherited it from someone who died. They didn't have a blood relative, so it went to Organa Bael's, or Bail Organa's child, who was Leia.
Right.
she was supposed to get it, and Leia could give a crap about royal titles. She's, whatever, I'll just pass it to you, lady, since it's your planet, whatever, I don't care, because this lady is a pompous douchebag, and all she cares about is tiles and royalty. So she gets it, she goes back to her planet and finds all this stuff that was left to Leia, who was supposed to have taken over. From Bail,
yeah.
and this, guy that had died. One of them is this music box that, when opened, starts to play the song, but also has a recording from Bail, who is, for the first time, explaining to Leia that Darth Vader is her father.
Right.
Leia has no idea this exists, but this lady finds it.
And not only is this the first time that this lady is finding this out, but apparently you find out that
no one has been told.
Ben does not know at this point.
Yeah.
None of the senators know. Yeah. None of Leia's friends in the Senate know.
Han, Luke, and Leia, basically.
Yeah, that's basically
and maybe
the
a couple
only
close people like Mothma, maybe.
I mean,
a couple of close people, maybe.
None of the people close to her in the book know, except Han.
So this Carice Syndian douchebag decides to...
The Ben thing actually that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I mean, we're just giving a synopsis now. We'll get to some points that we really want to talk about. So this lady goes to Ransom Casterfo because he's close to Leia, and she doesn't want him to be close to Leia. Reveals it to him. As we mentioned, Ransom hates Vader with a passion due to what he did to his family.
And this is at a point in the book where Leia and Casterfo were starting to kind of get close.
Like best friends. They're
understand each other.
Super hard together.
So then this shows up from
they've
this
poured
lady.
out like their hearts to each other as far as like their past and like their lives and stuff, except for Leia didn't reveal that Vader was her father.
Right.
Ransom finds out.
But she hadn't revealed that to anybody.
No. Ransom finds out and just without even talking to Leia presents it to the Senate.
But this lady has seen them kind of growing closer together, and she's like, no, we can't have this happening.
She wants Casterfo on their side for the First Order.
Right. So she presents this to him knowing that he's probably going to do something about it, and he does in a big way.
Presents it at the Senate, which is like, live public broadcast, basically. Like, it's like the president making an announcement. It is recorded. It goes out to the entire universe. Leia, of course, gets super pissed. She's basically just like slung down into the mud. No one could give a crap about Leia anymore.
She loses all her respect, all of her power.
Respect. And
in the Senate.
We'll get into this, but everyone's going to find out, including Ben.
Yeah.
Well,
she basically has to react to this by sending a message to Ben.
Yeah. We'll talk about those too. But
anyway.
So Ransom's basically not on her side anymore. She's continuing to research or look into this Amaxian warriors and Rin Riven D, and basically illegally at this point because she doesn't have any power and isn't getting approval from the Senate. She finds out where they're at on this like underwater city that is basically just for smugglers and bad guys. Finds out their entire army is basically, or a large portion of their army is stored there, like an entire fleet, a huge weapons cache, all of that. Ends up accidentally destroying the entire base through some means.
Thousands of people.
Thousands of other bad guys, mostly, but,
right.
Maybe not all of them deserve to die. She kills Rin Riven D. She kills a lot of their troops down there.
Right.
But she presents that back to the Senate. Ransom agrees that what happened and what she found is the truth, and that the Senate should definitely do something about it. But at this point, everyone's like, okay, maybe we should do something about it, but no one's really at a place where they want to do anything about it.
Right.
One thing we didn't mention is halfway through the book, they're wanting to elect a first senator. Leia was going to be the first senator candidate for the Populists, but that got thrown out the window when she was revealed to be Vader's daughter. And then another guy was from the Populists who was close to Leia, Ty Lin, I think was his name.
Yes.
Was supposed to be, and then he got assassinated. And so all the populist candidates for first senator are gone.
Basically, the book. So all this stuff kind of happens in the last quarter of the book.
Yeah, it just like super starts to compact as far as.
So it goes from Vader, the revelation about Vader, and then just everything goes to crap.
Everything falls apart. Ransom,
Leia loses all her power.
Ransom gets framed as the contact in the Senate who was attached to Rin Riven D and the Amaxian warriors.
Right.
He is sent back to his home planet where they have where they have a death penalty that he actually fought for them to keep on his planet. So he's definitely going to die. Leia has no power anymore, and basically anyone that knew about this investigation and knew how bad things were going to be is not involved anymore. The Senate's like, maybe we should do something about it, but they're not ready to move on anything anytime soon because they're not even going to vote for a first senator anymore because Leia got pushed out. Another candidate got assassinated. Their main populist candidate was main centrist candidate was probably going to be Ransom, but he's gone now too. So they're like, we'll just postpone this. So
now the Senate is completely useless.
it's left.
Leia has no involvement in
a
it.
point where the Senate does nothing. Leia's in the mud. She's not going to be able to do anything anymore. And then at the very end of the book, she has a few friends who stick around with her based off of finding out that Vader was her father. People like Akbar.
Nia Num was mentioned.
Nia Num was
Snap Wexley was mentioned as one of the pilots.
Timon Snap Wexley in the book, which I was glad they actually used his full name.
Elo Asti was mentioned.
Yeah, there's some other new characters. Joff C. Stryker was a main X-wing pilot who was big in the book. Her main assistant, who is Greer Sinnel.
I can't remember her last name. I can't remember.
And
I thought Greer was her last name.
At the end, they all meet together, and she's like, thank you all for being here. When the day comes, this is the resistance. When the day comes, we'll need to fight, basically. Yeah. And that's kind of how it leaves it off.
Yeah, that's referring to, like, Leia for a while has seen kind of this war brewing between all these dissatisfied worlds.
She knows there's a huge power out there, and no one believes her, basically, at this point.
Well, basically centrist worlds. Them, continuing to argue for the central government, which the Senate is not right now. So there's this war brewing between the way the Senate is and its uselessness and all this stuff, and all these centrist worlds that want change. So at the end, she gets all these people together and is like, we are the only people who can resist this coming war.
Yes. And as far as the Senate's concerned, I mean, they had proof that Leia destroyed this huge cache of weapons and fleet for the Amaxian warriors. So as far as they're like, well, the problem's basically solved now. You got rid of
the evidence.
Yeah, you got rid of everything that was going to be a problem, so there's nothing else out there.
Right.
Leia knows there's another bigger force coming.
That destruction of the base was completely accidental, so it's like she kind of screwed herself there.
It landed on a platform that had a bunch of their weapons and blew up the entire base.
Right.
Oops.
Yeah.
But so no one really believes that there's this even bigger force, worse than this, could be out there. So she knows that the Senate's doing nothing. There's a giant power that's coming after them, and she's got to be ready for it. Yeah. So that, it really sets up for why the resistance exists in Episode 7, and why there's no Mothma, why she has no ties to the New Republic or the Senate or anything.
This answers basically all of the questions that we've been talking about for a while now.
Everything regarding Leia and the New Republic, it really sets you up for exactly what you needed to know.
Like why are Leia and Akbar, the only big hitters in the Resistance? Why was Hux talking about the Senate being useless, and why was it destroyed like 5 minutes? 5 minutes after it was talked about.
Yeah. So all in all, obviously the story and some of the stuff contained within the story affects larger things, but some of it was just contained to the book and doesn't widely affect the canon in general.
Right.
Other than the fact that we know the First Order.
We took down notes of things that affect kind of the larger canon.
Han is in it a little bit. Here and there he talks with Leia, but just kind of setting you up. So they're still together. This is only 6 years before Episode 7. They're still together.
Sort of.
They're still married, and they're still loving, and they still talk.
Yes.
They're not separated.
Han is off apparently his main job now is to judge and sponsor these galactic races. It's like this huge galactic sport.
Yeah, he owns racing ships and sometimes flies some of them in the races and sponsors races. He also owns a shipping company, which I'm sure that shipping company is what turns into his new smuggling opportunities in Episode 7.
I thought that was kind of a weird direction for Han, but I don't know.
He wasn't just going to sit on Hosnian Prime, though.
I know his old
husband of a senator.
I know in his old canon, in his young life, he used to be a swoop racer.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's still the case anymore, but
at least he's still racing.
Yeah, it's similar.
That character of Greer Sonal, who was like Leia's sidekick. She's her main, I guess.
It's her right hand, basically.
Her right hand person her pilot, her assistant, whatever. Yeah. She used to be a racer for Han, but she got this Star Warsian named disease of bloodburn.
Bloodburn.
Apparently, when you do too many flights or something as a younger child, your blood can turn against you and start to basically give you a fever until you die.
I don't understand.
And there you have to take
mechanics of
medicine
it.
to lower the fever constantly until
But it's terminal. Like
it's
you're,
terminal. You have to
you're
constantly
gonna
take
die
the
from it
medicine.
eventually.
You have to always take your medicine unless, otherwise your blood is going to boil you, kind of thing. That was stupid, but I really liked Greer and her character.
Yeah.
So yeah, Han is doing that. Chewbacca went back to Kashyyyk, which
Yeah, I thought that was so weird. There's
Chewie just went back home. Now he's not really involved with any of them.
which actually the next Aftermath book is going to talk about that. It's going to talk about
Han
Chewie and
Chewie
Han's
on-
life, or
on Kashyyyk.
Chewie's life debt to Han, and how
Yeah.
Chewie kind of, I guess it's resolved somehow. I don't understand how that's going to work.
I mean, I understand that everything's fine or has been for a while now. So Chewie went home. Han's doing his thing with his shipping company and his racing and whatever. And they still talk. Like even Leia was sending messages to Chewie, and Chewie sent her a message when he found out the whole Vader reveal, basically sending her a message of support. So they're all still friends. It's sad.
That's just odd because
it's just sad that Chewie's not he's not part of Han's racing team or anything like that.
I thought that was kind of odd.
Back on Kashyyyk with his weird kids from the holiday special, Lumpy and Itchy and Scratchy or whoever the other one was.
Sneezy and
I know
Dopey.
Itchy and Lumpy were actually two of the. Well, okay, Itchy was the grandfather, Lumpy was his child.
Jeez.
We definitely have to watch that someday.
I still haven't seen it.
So Chewie's gone. Luke and Ben are God knows where, and it refers to it a couple times. Ben is with Luke,
Yeah.
and they are off somewhere. Leia doesn't even know where they are.
Alone, apparently from what I
alone.
gathered.
They're just off wherever, and Leia, sends them messages, and sometimes she gets messages. She never gets any in the book.
Yeah.
But apparently the messages are affected by radiation interference because it's so far to travel to wherever they are.
Right.
So we don't know what they're up to at this point. Maybe they're hunting down Jedi temples?
I don't know. I mean, it's mentioned in the book. I put this down too, that Luke's acolytes, quote unquote,
Yeah.
were mentioned. So I don't know if this is before he. Well, I don't know. It would have to be after, I guess, the temple,
I don't know.
or he had some kind of followers.
I mean, again, being 6 years before The Force Awakens, if you would think he would already have a academy or whatever he's doing by now. Maybe he's not doing anything other than siring Ben.
I don't know.
So I don't know what the whole destruction of whatever or sadness of Luke in the fire with him putting his hand on R2-D2 type thing.
Yeah. So what is that now? It kind of screws up the timeline a little bit.
maybe
that
they
we've
found
talked
some
about.
kind of temple and Ben destroys it. I don't.
Yeah, I don't know.
But apparently, from what I could tell, they were alone, right?
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Yeah, that's what it seems like.
And as we found out earlier in the book, and we mentioned earlier, Ben does not know that Vader was his grandfather.
Right.
That he had not.
So we
been
can
told.
assume that he doesn't have this obsession with. Well, I don't know.
Well,
maybe he could still
here's
have
where that
that.
comes in. He finds out that Vader's his grandfather, not from his uncle, who is a Jedi, not from his mother or from his father.
If you think about it, not from his uncle, who he's been with for quite a
Yes.
long time now.
So I'm
Luke
starting to
apparently hasn't
understand probably
mentioned
some
that.
of his pissed offness of no one ever told me this, and he's already in his 20s at this point.
Well, I
think.
guess we can't say for sure that Luke hasn't told him because they've been separated
You're
from
off
Leia.
forever.
Maybe Leia doesn't know.
I'm assuming
but-
he didn't know. I'm assuming he found out from the reveal to the Senate.
Leia
then-
still thinks that Ben doesn't know about
Yes.
this.
I'm assuming
So-
Luke has to try and calm him down from finding out about this horrible news. But if they are off together and alone, that whole thing of Leia saying that Snoke seduced him, we need that story because it really doesn't give us much other than Luke and Ben are off wherever.
That's another thing that kind of screws with the timeline that we've been talking about for a while now. Is if Luke and Ben have been together this long, when does Snoke come into the picture?
Yeah, when is Snoke involved?
You know?
I mean, again, it's 6 years, so there's if this 6 years point is the time when Kylo or Ben goes insane and gets angry and goes to the dark side, I'm assuming this stirs up the anger in his heart to pull him to the dark side, and then Snoke uses that to turn him to the dark side.
Somehow gets a hold of him. Somehow they get connected, and I
So
don't
I'm guessing
know.
at this point they have 6
how.
years to do whatever they do as far as the Knights of Ren, pulling him into the First Order,
Yeah.
whatever Snoke is involved in. But we don't have that story yet. I'm assuming there will be a story of that involved in the movies at some point.
That was another weird thing. It's in several places it's mentioned that Luke has been gone a long time,
Yeah.
and that he's kind of fading into myth. There's I mean, his story seems to be fairly commonplace. Like it's something that people talk about. Like
Yeah.
there were several
Like, people
places
know
in the book.
who Luke was.
They know who he was.
They
They
know
know
the
what he
story.
did. I mean, there's a little quote about somebody talking about him, using a single starfighter against a Death Star. Like that's this legend, at this point.
But then you have some people who, centrists and people that want to refute all of the good things that the rebellion did and are saying, well, who really knows what happened on the Death Star when supposedly he killed Darth Vader and supposedly he killed the Empire?
Sure,
Emperor.
there's the propaganda part of it.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that there's the story of Luke is pretty commonplace at this point, according to the book.
At this point. I mean, people that are senators now were only like 5 years old when that stuff happened.
So it's like stories
So it's
that they've
stories
been
that you heard
told.
when you were a child that
Yeah.
you assume are true,
Right.
but your parents probably are dead from the war at this point, so you may not, really know how much is truth and how much is just story at this point. 'cause
Right.
It's been so long.
My point is that he's kind of fading into myth. He's kind of not really relevant
He's fading
anymore.
into a story. He's just become the story,
Right.
and since apparently he's been gone and not really involved, because it even mentions like
So-
after the whole war and everything, Luke wasn't involved in really anything else. He
Right,
went off
that's
to
what I'm-
find his Jedi temples and to look more into being a Jedi.
That's what I'm getting at. So in 7, it's mentioned that Luke has been gone for like a really long time, and he just kind of disappeared. So
Leia knows he's with Ben, but maybe whatever happens with Ben, he just doesn't come back.
well, this is what I'm thinking. Maybe he isn't with Ben at this point, and Leia just doesn't know it. Maybe
I would think the Vader reveal would have to be what caused Ben to go off the rails.
well, sure, maybe Ben finds out about Vader, but maybe he's not with Luke when he finds out. I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know.
It just seems
That
like
seems-
this
that seems
disappearance, like 6 years, does that count as a disappearance? I mean, 6
No,
years
he's
of
been off with Ben for who knows how long.
6
'Cause
years
it
of him
doesn't say.
trying to find, Jedi temples or whatever he was doing.
Well, it doesn't say how long he's been gone with Ben. I'm
Yeah,
assuming-
that's- yeah.
'cause it seemed like it's been a while, at least a couple years already.
I want to find out what
Yeah.
what does this look
hopefully
like?
we'll get some filler with that, and I'm sure there will be some books or something.
But it kind of
after
blows
we
what
find
we've been
out.
talking about for a while now out of the water, I think.
I mean, I guess it has to throw away the whole the Jedi Academy.
But
theory.
it's mentioned in the book that he has acolytes. I don't remember
Well,
where
he has
that's
people
mentioned, but
that follow him or believe in him or believe in the Jedis. But as far as being actual Jedi students,
I bet you he has some actual followers.
maybe.
I would think so.
But if him and Ben are, I mean, she doesn't, reference anyone other than the fact that Ben is with Luke is all she
Sure.
really thinks about her references. So
Right.
maybe he is off somewhere at a temple with students. We don't know that for certain.
Maybe. I mean, it's mentioned somewhere that
It's very
he
interesting though.
he's off. Let's see, where was that? There's a quote from the book. Skywalker had been away so long in his strange quest for the lore of the Jedi.
Mhm.
So, and this is just from a random passerby. So
Yeah.
apparently that's known that he left to go explore Jedi
Yeah.
history.
So I mean, if this is 6 years before The Force Awakens, and Ben is possibly still with him, he may be already, by The Force Awakens, it may have already been a decade,
Yeah.
which is a long time to have disappeared into wherever you went. If you just don't return after whatever happens with Ben, maybe
So I
he
guess-
sends, maybe he sends like a message back to Leia saying I'm sorry, and then like he never talks to anyone ever again.
Maybe.
Um,
It'd be interesting to find out more
there's
about
a lot
that
of
story.
stuff to fill in with that.
Yeah.
Stuff that really affects canon. So that lady, not lady anymore, because at the end of the book, Leia strips her of that title of lady. But
Yeah.
Carice Sindian, she was the one who went out and basically put the Imperial fleet back together. She found the people that were hiding. She found
the remnants.
She found the remnants and was like, "We want to bring you guys back to power. So we're pulling money. We want to
Right.
start training again. We want to start building back up. So it's her fault. Basically, all to say it's Carice Sindian's fault that the Empire was the Imperial fleet was built back up and then supported to build the First Order.
I mean, it's even mentioned that she kind of pulls Hux into the picture. Or it's hinted at
Well,
towards
it's hinted
the end
at.
of the book.
Apparently, Hux. His name is Brindle Hux.
Yeah.
Apparently, he's from her same planet, and he went quote missing after the Battle of Jakku.
Yeah.
He was an Academy commandant.
The Arcanus Academy.
Yeah. So he was already part of the Empire, before the First Order.
Which apparently we found out was mentioned in a Rebels episode.
There's a Rebels book too.
Yeah, that was mentioned in there too.
His like the Commandant's cadets. Which is interesting. I didn't know anything about that book until I looked it up a minute
Was
ago.
it just in that book, or was it in an episode somewhere?
I think it was just in that book.
Oh, okay.
So Hux was already part of the Empire, a lesser part of the Empire, obviously not the head of the First Order as he was in The Force Awakens, but
it's kind of hinted that she remembers this guy,
yeah,
and kind of pulls him back into the picture. So she's kind of orchestrating a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, she's trying to orchestrate this back together. So she has a bigger role than we know.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting if that name appears in any of the films.
Brendel Hux?
No, Carice Indian.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Let's see. So, oh yeah, that was it. At the end of Bloodline, the centrists, basically, other than trying to build up this First Order, they have plans to secede from the New Republic. At some point, when the time is right, they're wanting to just completely secede.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. So after the the first senator election and all that is basically canceled or put on hold due to all the arrestings and murders and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's revealed that the time is getting closer to when the centrists are just going to fully secede from the New Republic, and then that will of course help them to bring in the First Order to rise.
So they basically become the First Order at that point.
That is on the horizon. So that's really their plan, is just to pull away and then just come back with, okay, well, we have our power already, so what are you going to do about it since you guys haven't been doing anything?
Right.
Because even their fleet doesn't seem to be that huge as far as the New Republic goes, which, in Force Awakens, it was basically destroyed from Starkiller anyways.
Yeah.
And then, if like we mentioned at the end of the book, Leia kind of puts together the Resistance, and Leia is still a senator at the end of the book. She doesn't have as much power. People believe in her a little more due to finding out about the Maxines and Casterfo backing her up, maybe. They believe that was a real problem, so she's not... They don't believe her, they believe her a little more and trust her maybe a little more, but she has no real power. But she is still in the Senate, at least until her term is up. And she's putting together this, the Resistance. So I wonder how much they are recruiting within the New Republic while they're waiting for this horrible stuff to go down.
Well, I was just looking up Hux's quote in 7 about the Republic before they activate Starkiller Base.
Yeah.
And he's saying, the New Republic lies to the galaxy while secretly supporting the treachery of the rogues of the Resistance. So I can imagine that a lot of the populist people are the ones still in the Senate after the centrists secede.
Probably.
So I can imagine they're recruiting people.
And then when Leia already had this force of, the Resistance kind of that she's been slowly building up in the background, I'm sure there was a chunk that left and went with her, like, Akbar and...
Well, yeah, that core group that it mentions
fighters.
at the end of the book, yeah. Which, actually, I was wondering if Poe was part of that. That group.
I know he has I think a 4-shot comic. I don't know if it goes back into his history very much.
Okay, I haven't read a lot of the comics yet.
But yeah, I don't know if he was a part of the New Republic fleet or anything at that point. So yeah, I mean, the book definitely changes around some of the timelines and things that we thought. I don't know what to think about Luke and Ben. It fully squares away all of my concerns and questions regarding Leia and the New Republic.
Yeah.
That all is fully settled.
But then raises all these questions about the timeline with Luke and what he's been up to.
The timeline with Luke and Ben is really the biggest thing that now I have no idea.
Yeah.
It doesn't... I mean, again, 6 years is a long time. A lot can happen in 6 years, but we don't know anything about what they're doing out there or where they are or what, and this is only 6 years before.
Searching for Jedi lore, whatever that means.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, I'm assuming Ben finds out about Darth Vader based off of the reveal to the Senate. He gets angry and then is seduced to the dark side through that anger of finding out, like, why didn't anyone tell me type thing.
Do you remember
but what's going on with Luke, and if he has any academy or is teaching anyone other than Ben? Like, that doesn't... Yeah. I don't know what to think about that now. Do
you remember that the 4 series comic that came out recently? I can't remember what it was called now. It was the
Darth Vader and Star Wars crossover?
No, not the crossover. It was the... it followed...
Shattered Empire?
Yes, that's what it was. Yeah, it followed Poe's mom.
Yes. Shattered Empire.
Yeah, there's that part in the last issue or maybe the third issue where she runs into Luke, or somebody runs into Luke, and he's after like the last supposedly a tree that was in the Jedi temple on Coruscant at one point.
For a tree?
You remember that?
No.
You remember that?
I don't know if I finished those.
It was. I have the issues. I can bring
I'll have
them
to
over,
read
but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And I
How-
can't remember if he was on Yavin.
How hard is it to find a tree?
Was it a tree
Is
on?
he chasing a tree?
It was either a tree that was in the Jedi Temple in Coruscant, or it was a tree in an ancient Jedi Temple on Yavin. I can't remember. One of the two.
Like the tree's on the move and he's trying to find it? Like he's
No,
hunting?
it's not on the
I don't
move.
understand. Why is he
He
hunting?
tracked it down to this one point and
trees,
finds it.
Trees aren't hard to track down. They're usually fairly...
It's apparently it was like Rich with the Force. I don't know. There was this like short battle for him to retrieve
a
it.
tree, he found it in a hut. It's like making soup. It's like run away and hidden. It's like
I don't
Yoda
know.
on a distant planet, and there's just like this tree
I don't
hanging
know.
out.
I have to go back and reread it. But anyway, Luke was alone at that
He's
point.
tracking down a tree like a crazy person.
But he was alone at that point. So this was
Well, yeah, you can't find a tree if you've got multiple people dragging you down.
this was what, like 5 years after
Yeah, I
6?
guess probably.
Something like that. It was around the
So
aftermath
he was already
time.
out looking for stuff,
Yeah.
basically.
So he started on this journey pretty early on.
So
I
if he's
think.
been traveling and been out and about and hunting stuff down, has he had time to actually train anyone other than just keeping Ben with him while he's hunting stuff down?
Well, how old is Ben at this point?
I think I mean, based off of the fact that, you know, some of the timelines with the book stuff, I think he's already, 6 years prior to Force Awakens, I think he's already in his upper teens to early 20s.
Okay. So he was born, I guess like what, 5 years after?
Probably.
6?
I can't remember the timeline. I don't think it mentions any like specific timelines based off of, the
If
battle
it was
of
30 years, then yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
Or shorter, maybe like 2-3 years
So
after
I think
6?
I think he's early 20s. I mean, he's definitely, I think he's, based off of like Rey and Kylo's ages, I think he's by Force Awakens in his late 20s.
Probably mid
By
20s,
then,
maybe
mid to late
something like
20s.
that.
So he's either late teens, early 20s in Bloodline. So I mean, he's old enough to have been told about Darth Vader at this point.
Definitely.
So he's old enough
Yeah.
to be very upset when he finds out, like, why did you not tell me what happened?
Sure.
And I don't trust any of you anymore or anything you say.
Yeah.
But if Luke has been traveling this entire time and then maybe picks up Ben, it's like, all right, you come
That's
with
actually
me
a
and I'll
good
train
point.
you. If he's been on the move so much, how can he do anything else or train anyone else or
Yeah.
do anything else?
That's a good point. I wonder what Luke has told him about, because I'm sure the subject of Vader has come up in their relationship.
I assume Leia has asked him not to tell Ben about.
Well, sure,
Vader.
but I'm wondering, what did Luke, like, just how Obi-Wan didn't tell Luke the truth, technically.
Yes. I'm assuming Luke at least
I wonder
told him
what
that
Luke
he
told
turned to the
Ben.
light side before the end. I'm assuming he knows that part of the story.
Right, that's mentioned a couple times in the book, that Luke,
I mean, that's
Told
like, that's
Leia that
supposedly
story.
like a story that's out there
yeah,
at this point.
right.
So I'm assuming Ben knows that, but other than that, I guess, I mean, I don't know how much he could have told Ben at this point.
Maybe he told Ben about Anakin and not, just like Obi-Wan did. you
Yeah,
know,
maybe.
About Anakin and not Vader, not the Vader
Yeah,
part.
I don't know.
But I mean, it's a good point that, if Luke did tell him about that, that he, I'm sure, would never trust anything Luke had to say after that point.
No, yeah, I'm sure. And then if if that did pull him to the dark side, and then Snoke is involved, however he's involved, and then helps seduce him further into the dark side through this anger,
Yeah.
he's definitely not trusting.
You can
Luke.
kind of
He's not
see
gonna
the
trust
start of
Leia.
the path, but I still want more information about what
Yeah,
exactly
there's no connection
happened.
as far. And then, like I said, if Luke's always been on the move or been traveling and been searching for stuff, and then maybe picks up Ben, and it's like, all right, come with me, I'll teach you the ways of the Force.
Yeah.
Has he had time to make an academy? Has he had time to teach anyone else anything?
Yeah, I don't
And
know.
then what is Rey's involvement, if she has been involved at all with any of this?
It depends on what he's actually doing out there.
It messes up all of my ideas and thoughts.
Right.
A couple of extra little thoughts I had just based off the book. So we know Laura Dern is going to be in episode 8,
Yeah.
and we know that she's going to be kind of trying to undermine Leia maybe a little bit from some of the rumors we've heard of scenes she's been in,
So
as
you're
far
thinking
as
maybe she'll
trying to
be
take over.
a senator or something.
I wonder if she was someone that kind of got, well, things went to hell, so now I kind of have to go help with the resistance now. Maybe she was a senator that Leia, wasn't a big fan of Leia. Maybe she's someone that was involved.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, based off of, and something I didn't mention earlier, apparently Rian Johnson had input, into the book with Claudia and with the editors.
Interesting.
So the populist and centrist, like the two-party thing, was Ryan's idea. The political like atmosphere of how the infighting and stuff like that was Ryan's idea. Like,
so I wonder if he's going to incorporate some of that into
so
8.
like he helped kind of set up, this is how the New Republic was, this is kind of how their parties were set up. He had some ideas that he shared with them that they incorporated into it.
Interesting.
So I wonder how much of anything from the book may actually be brought into episode 8.
It depends on how many people were on Hosnium Prime, that system, when it was destroyed.
Yes.
Well,
I'm assuming, people that were part of the New Republic had to kind of probably forcibly join the Resistance because they had no other choice at this point. If they
once Hosnium Prime was destroyed,
no,
you mean?
other than trying to hold the Senate together. No, while the First Order is doing their badness out in the universe, maybe.
Well, I imagine if there were any people abroad at the time after Hosnium Prime is destroyed,
yes.
I'm sure they're like, well,
so
crap,
I wonder if
the First Order is not someone we want to
maybe
partner
Laura
with.
Dern could be some political rival or somebody that maybe was mentioned in the book.
Maybe
could be interesting.
Maybe.
And then so the character of Greer Sonal, which I've mentioned before, she has dark hair. She's Leia's right hand person. She's her assistant. She's a really good fighter. She used to be a racer for Han.
Yeah, but
I want her to be involved because she's so cool. I mean, her Bloodborne. That's a game. Her Bloodburn is pretty serious. So you gotta.
That's what I'm thinking.
Talk about that,
I think she's probably dead at this point.
Maybe, but her thing with talking to Leia, because when you have Bloodburn, you're supposed to take your medicine and then like rest for a day, and you can't have high stress because that causes it to flare up. And whatever. But at the end, when they're putting together the Resistance, Leia's like, Greer, you can't do this, and she's like, well, if I'm going to die, I'd rather go out in a burst of flame type thing.
Sure.
It's not the exact word she said, but she's like, if I'm going to go, I want to do something. I want to.
Right.
So I'm assuming, if the Bloodburn maybe got her at this point, but I think it would be cool if Kelly Marie Tran was Greer.
If they pulled her, from the book into the movie, that'd be kind of cool.
Just, since Ryan was trying to be involved, if there are any crossovers or pull into the films, it would just be nice to finally have that cohesion of Star Wars where the books and the films are all one canon, which they're trying to do, and which is the point now, which is what Pablo's whole job is basically about. Pablo Hidalgo, which for those that don't know or have heard us mention before, he's basically the keeper of the canon.
Yeah.
He's in charge of making sure...
The overseer.
Yeah, he's making sure, the films and the books and everything, there's a, cohesive canon to it.
Yep.
So it's nice to see the director input to a book, but it would be nice to see the more incorporation of, yes, these books are actually part of the universe, and yes, we'll mention those characters that were from that book because this is the same universe. It's not just a book that some author wrote, and then we just ignored it because George Lucas decided to make a film and write off everything else that some other person did. That. I'm just ready for that actual big cohesive, we make Star Wars canon, and there's books and there's movies and TV shows, and it's all pulling together.
That's already happening.
Which is happening. It's just, the films have so far been a little separate, and the books have been filling in stuff to the films, but the films haven't necessarily called on the books.
Sure.
So it'd be cool to see the film call on something from a book that happened prior to the film coming out.
I guess, by the time the 9th movie comes out, I think we'll see a lot more of that.
Possibly.
All these different mediums being tied together with one story,
Episode 8 better fill in some story with Kylo and Luke so that we can get a book about what the hell has happened with Kylo and Luke. If I have to wait 4 years or whatever it is until episode 9 to actually get that story of what happened in the meantime before he went dark, I don't know if I can wait that long.
I don't know. Maybe it'll be some crazy revelation that comes around in 9.
Ugh, 9. Don't make us wait till 9. Don't even do it.
It's like 2 years from now, 3 years from now.
Hey, it's already May of 2016. We only have to wait until December for another Star Wars movie, at least. And then another year after that for the next Star Wars movie.
For the next big deal.
Yeah. I don't have anything
We talked
else.
for a lot, a long time.
We did talk for a long time, but Bloodline was great. If you haven't read it and you were thinking about reading it, we just ruined the story for you, but the book is very well written, so go read it.
There's a lot of little points that we didn't talk about that I still have in my notes that are things that are just great, that they're just cool to hear.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely it was a very well written book and very good canon, you know, information. If you enjoy reading Star Wars books, definitely go read it. There's no reason not to, so go.
And then the next one's going to be Aftermath.
Aftermath
Life Day.
Lurf Dirt. Aftermath Lurf Dirt.
Oh, Life Day. Oh no, that was a holiday. That was the holiday special thing, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Oh no.
Aftermath Life Debt comes out in July.
July 12th.
Yes. So you have a month and a half to catch up, and Michael has to finish the first Aftermath before reading the next one because it's podcast requirements.
Who says?
Me, podcast man, number one.
Podcastman.
Podcast
Me.
man, number one.
I don't want to.
But Mr. Bones.
What about Mr.
He's the best
that's
character in the
right.
entire book, and all of the good things happen.
Maybe
to Mr.
that is
Bones
worth
later on.
reading it. I forgot about Mr.
Mr. Bones is one of the best characters, and I just want a cartoon about Mr. Bones. Just Mr. Bones' adventures with Timon, as he slaughters mercilessly people and things. Go read it. I don't have anything else about Bloodline. For those uninformed, this podcast, of course, as always, comes out on a Monday. This Wednesday, tickets for Star Wars Celebration go on sale at 3 p.m. Eastern.
Here in Orlando.
It's back in Orlando, Florida. We will be going for 2 of the 4 days because we can't take off that much work or neglect our families that much either, because they would leave us.
Unfortunately.
Yes. We're planning on going the Friday and the Saturday of because it's actually a 4-day, because usually it's a 3-day. It has been expanded.
Yeah,
in
Thursday.
Orlando.
It's Thursday through Sunday.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
In April sometime.
That Sunday is an Easter Sunday, which kind of sucks and is one of the reasons we can't go on Sunday because our families would leave us. So we'll be there Friday and Saturday. That's the plan. Of course, provided we get tickets before they sell out instantly. I will be sitting at the laptop.
That'd be the same thing
Eagerly.
that we did for 7, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Other news, we have made a t-shirt. Ours actually arrived.
Oh, yes. I forgot about this.
As of recording this, ours arrived this weekend.
Oh, okay.
So by the time you're hearing this episode, we should already have our t-shirts for the podcast. It is on TeePublic. If you look
Imagine us wearing them.
Or not wearing them. If you look at our Twitter, you should
Or
find a
not
link
wearing
for
anything.
it. TeePublic is where we made them and put them up. Hopefully they look amazing when we receive them. If they don't, we will rescind this invitation to buy a shirt. Michael's now taking off all of his clothing. I don't know what that was. I'm not cleaning that up. Otherwise, of course, as always, you have destroyed the podcast. Rate us on iTunes. Of course, we are on iTunes and Google Play.
Google
now.
Play!
Yes. I don't know if Google Play allows reviews yet, because last time I looked, I don't think there were any places for
There's
that.
no reviews?
I don't know if there's a place for
What?
reviews yet. I don't know. I didn't see it.
Leave a review on our YouTube channel.
We have a YouTube channel where we do put up the audio
For some
in
reason.
a video form.
I think each video has 2 views.
Yes. Hey, if there's
Each of
any
us.
desire for us to do a live stream of our recording sessions, hit us up on Twitter and let us know, because that could be a possibility. No promises, but we could do it.
I think it would be a fun thing to do, but
I think it would be as well.
I want to hear from people who would actually want us
Yes,
to
I want
do
someone
that.
to actually
So,
say, yes, I would watch that, and then you actually watch it and not just be a douchebag and say,
I'll say
yes,
if-
and then no one shows
I'll
up.
say this: if more than 5 people do it on Twitter,
Yeah.
I think we should do it.
Yeah, we can
More
do
than
YouTube.
5 people. That's a really low bar.
That is a really low bar. We have no standards. Yeah, hit us up on Twitter. If more than 5 people say they want a live stream of our recording sessions, we'll do a YouTube live stream.
Actually, that
for when
sounds
we
really
record.
desperate. Maybe we should.
I mean, we have the ability to do it. We're just
We'll
lazy
see.
enough. We're
We'll
lazy
see,
enough
all right?
that we don't already do it. We just need 5 people to convince us to go the extra click to make it happen.
Just tell us on Twitter what
Yeah.
you think.
Exactly.
Tell us if you don't want to see our faces
Exactly.
on the internet.
Speaking of Twitter, you can always hit us up at Hokey_religion on Twitter. You can email us at HokeyReligionPod@gmail.com. No one emails us.
no one does.
So
Don't
you
bother.
should, because we love you.
I thought it was don't bother.
Huh?
Isn't it just don't bother if no one does it already?
If no one does it, then
Then
keep
just
don't doing it.
Exactly. Right.
We do have people who tweet us.
Keep it up, you lame dickbags.
We do have. Thank you for calling our listeners dickbags. Now we will have less. There are people that tweet us.
I'm going to refer to people on Twitter as that now. Yeah. Thanks for listening, you dickbag.
Hokey dickbags. Is that the name for our audience now?
Or you hokey dickbags.
We do have people who hit us up on Twitter, so thank you for that. And Michael and I will always reply, and probably at the same time saying complete opposite things. So feel free to tweet us and watch the hilarity ensue. This podcast has gone for way too long, so this is Tyler.
This is Michael.
Bye.
Bye.
Hokey religion is an ancient weapon. Hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster, true side.
Is your phone on silent?
Yes.
Non-vibrate?
No. It's vibrating. It's all vibrating.
All vibrate all the time. Vibrates never off.
So, I turned it on the setting where it vibrates when nothing's happening.
So when it's silent, you know there's something you need to check. The worst phone ever.
It's July.
Just constantly like, "Arr!" like across the table. And it's like, "Arr!" Oh, I have an alert.